Penn State football has a rich tradition of excellence, with their recent history of winning the Big Ten championship in 2016 and reasserting themselves as one of the top programs in the country, to their past accomplishments while under head coach Joe Paterno. The Penn State football program undoubtedly has a storied history. But what does it take to achieve Coach Franklin's championship standard on a week-by-week basis? And how does the weather play a role in the team's preparations so that they can go 1-0 each week? I sat down with one of the assistant athletic trainers for Penn State football, Tesa Johns, to see if the weather had any impact on the way that the players practiced and prepared for each game.
We start looking at the weather a week in advance. We actually have a nice gentleman who sends us a detailed weather report weekly, and then kind of sends it again Thursday and then day of game. That helps us a lot in preparation, and also helps our equipment managers to know whether some of their spikes are interchangeable, so we can get the longer spikes and stuff like that. But that definitely plays a factor. We try not to tell the guys like, hey, it's going to be hot wherever we're going, because it can become a mind thing as well. So we try to keep that neutral, but we definitely will push fluids a little more, keep it on their minds. If you know it's 60 here, but we're flying to like bowl time, right? It's winter and 30 here, and if we fly to Florida, it might be 70, 80 there. So there's definitely a factor in that. So hot weather, there's obviously a lot of heat, and you have to worry about heat illness. So hydration is key. I mean, we preach to the guys all the time about hydration. You know, it starts 48 hours out of an activity. So during camp in August, when it's the hottest, like every day is 48 hours out of a hard activity. So you know, extra salting their food, staying on top of things like that, just getting as much electrolytes as they can. And then the rainy weather forces us to go into our indoor facility, Haluba, a lot, which a lot of times the guys have to change their cleats because the different type of turf feeling. And artificial turf can be harder on them than the grass, so that can pose a problem. But luckily our turf gets tested yearly for, you know, making sure the surface is just as it was when it was first put in. So, and then the rain, you know, our guys will bring out a bucket a lot of times and like dip the ball in it and do wet ball work if it isn't raining. That's a huge thing for wide receivers, so sometimes that turns into more of a run game. And with run game means our O-line and D-line are going to be hitting a lot harder or protecting a lot longer. So that can pose issues maybe with some head stuff, but not necessarily. And then the rain also, in my standpoint, you know, the guys are always having to get retaped because the adhesive tape is getting loose, so that kind of can be an issue. This time of year, you're late into the season, you're starting to play your heavy-hitting teams. That can produce more injuries, and it's also getting colder now, so having to keep the guys warm, keep them going, and a lot of times when it's cold, they forget to drink, so hydration can actually be an issue in the cold weather as well. The colder they are, the tighter they're going to get. So if they're standing around in the cold and then go to run a quick sprint, like that could definitely pose an issue, where if they're out in the warm and they go quickly, their body temperature is still a little warmer, so that could be the difference there.
With the football season throughout the fall and into the winter months, some crazy weather can happen during games. I asked Tesa what's been the worst weather for a Penn State football game that she can remember.
I remember when I was a student, there was a spring game that we had snow, rain, sunshine, and hail, so that was kind of like really interesting. You know, you started the game in cold gear, and by the end of the game they were so hot they were like trying to cut sleeves off. But worst conditions, maybe Michigan State last year. Just that 3-hour rain delay was really hard as far as preparation goes, because 3 hours for a football player, that's a long time to not eat. So, you know, we always have food and snacks for them, but you had to get them re-warmed up and had to get them food in the locker room, and there was just so much extra that had to be done, and it was away, so we had to make sure we had enough tape to retape everyone. And then the field conditions, luckily we came out of that game pretty clean, but the field conditions were, I mean, you couldn't even run without falling or walk without falling, so that definitely could have been a bad issue.
As you can see, the weather plays a big role in the way that Penn State football players prepare for each game to reduce injury and to keep the fans that come out to Beaver Stadium each fall happy with winning football. For Weather or Not, I'm Jacob Morris.